Welcome to the Fort Collins Fellows Podcast, from Colorado State University to New Belgium Brewery, and the hundreds of miles of hiking and biking trails. Fort Collins has earned its well-deserved reputation as one of the top places to live in the United States. Join the fellas as they uncover the stories, places, and people that make Fort Collins so extraordinary.
What is up, everybody? We have got somebody who probably already knows who is watching, where they're watching, and everything about them and their families. Mr. Tim Washburn, who runs an IT company here, an IT firm here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And today we are going to talk about things that'll probably keep you up at night. Scares me, but ultimately, that's why we have professionals like Tim in the world to take care of us. What's up, Tim?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for the intro.
Absolutely. Well, talk to us a little bit about kind of who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Yeah, quickly, I'm Tim Washburn. I'm actually a Colorado native, and not a whole lot of people can say that. I lead a chamber meeting, and we went around, and the icebreaker was, "Hey, how did you get here? What brought you to Fort Collins or this area?" And there were only two of us of about 20 people that were Colorado natives of the entire room.
We got to stick together. We have three of us right here, Colorado natives.
Exactly. So I came up to CSU for college. I thought I wanted to become an electrical engineer until I quickly decided and found out that was not my path. And so I ended up transferring to Front Range and got a business degree there. In the meantime, I had worked for CSU doing IT work directly for the professors at the College of Business, who also really helped guide me into, what my path is now, which is business. And about 13 years ago, I opened a company called Computer Doctors, which was residential IT. It really was built to compete with Geek Squad and just a little bit more, one-on-one, customer focused. And so, that was great, but I wanted to spread my wings a little bit more, get into the business industry. And so in 2016, I decided to open a new company called Integrity Technologies, which focuses on IT help desk and cybersecurity. And just recently at the beginning of the year, sold Computer Doctors.
You sold Computer Doctors. Okay. So you were doing both for a little bit, Tim,
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's, a little bit overlap for 7 years or so.
Cool.
And, which worked out great. And, the new ownership of Computer Doctors, wonderful as well. And we still work together and collaborate quite a bit.
And Computer Doctors, they actually have almost like a storefront, right? Over by Prospect and LeMay.
Correct. Yep. Over there by like East Moon, and there's 7-Eleven.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know exactly where it is. Tim, I got to ask, with COVID, I was working from home. I work in the mortgage industry, Patrick in the real estate industry, but I got to imagine that kind of changed your whole business around. And talk to us a little bit about, I'm curious that, right in the middle of, because I know when I was working from home, like, in the mortgage world, they got to have firewalls. You're going off your own internet, you're working with people's a lot of personal information. Can you give us a little, what was that like for you during COVID? And was your phone ringing off the hook nonstop?
Yeah. I always tell our customers, COVID changed everything. It really did. Just our daily lives, everything changed, and, things still aren't back to normal and never will be. But the way that we conduct business will also never be back to normal. The amount of people that work from home and the security risks that happen with that. And, luckily, a great majority of our clients had already been leveraging cloud services to some extent. And so for most of them, it ended up just being a slight change, a slight pivot, rather than, their entire company getting turned upside down. So luckily for our clients, it wasn't the end of the world, because we did have a lot of security policies and infrastructure already in place. What that does as far as opening the entire world up to hacks. If you look at, statistically, there was an increase between 2020 and 2021. There's a 341% increase in ransomware. And so
what is ransomware? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's in the name. Essentially what they're doing is these bad actors will, they'll come in to different means, and they encrypt all your data. And then they give you a nice little note that says, hey, pay us X amount of dollars, and we'll give you the keys to your own stuff back. And
sounds like a great deal.
It is. And if you're in, like financial industry, if you're in the medical industry, if you're in the legal industry, they're going to probably double extort you and be like, okay, now you have your data. We still have a copy of your data as well. And we're going to just leak this. How about you pay us again? We won't leak it. How does that sound?
With no promise of never deleting the shit that they have.
Right. No.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna keep giving you money, and you're, but I'm gonna give this to the Chinese next week if you don't give me,
right. Yeah, I mean, that's that double extortion. And so I will say one thing that's very odd is that most of them are good to their word. Like the industry as a whole is like very ethical, right? Where they're like, yeah, no, you pay us, and we will actually do what we say that we're going to do. Yeah, which is like a funny thing to say in general, but
well, I guess the word would get out. Like they will, that like, hey, if you actually pay, you're protected. So reputationally, let's go ahead and pay. Otherwise, they're just not gonna get money.
It keeps people paying, right?
Right.
So
and how do you get like nailed with it? Are you hitting a link on an email? Is that really
man, it's everywhere. It really is. And in majority of compromises do come through email. So 1 in every 323 emails is malicious. So if you think about that, and it sounds like both of you are, somewhat in the know anyway, at least know to look for this stuff.
I need my business partner on this episode right now. He hits every link that comes through. I swear to God.
Well, I mean, let's set up a meeting.
Dude.
Chris.
I'm not even gonna tell you. I want you to send him something, and he's gonna be like, Murph, dude, this Tim guy just sent me some. I'm like, I don't know, what does it look like? It says I want a $100 gift card. I'm like, click it.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. So that's one of my questions would be for you, Tim. Is like, is it non-discriminatory who it's going after, or do they have kind of specific parameters? Is it local? Is it employee count, revenue, types of industry? I mean, what do you kind
older
of
people?
See?
Yeah,
older people?
I mean, really, it depends. It's just like anything else. It depends. So like during COVID, a lot of the hospitals were targeted, and so typically you're going to be seeing those hospitals targeted by bigger groups. I mean, the amount of energy that goes into pulling off like that $250 million ransomware attack that happened like mid-COVID in the UK. I imagine that probably cost them 6 or 7 figures to pull off. I mean, it's great return on 250 mil. But at the same time, things have changed, and you have like ransomware as a service now. So rather than like being that nerdy guy in your parents' basement, you have your hood up and you're like hacking away, and mom's giving you Mountain Dew, and you're hacking away doing your thing. You don't even really need to have that intelligence anymore. You just have to have moral flexibility, because you're paying other people to pull these things off. With ransomware as a service, you're kind of just pulling the strings. You're just saying, hey, let's go after them. They look like low-hanging fruit. Can we exploit them for $10,000? If it only costs me $100 to outsource it, $1,000 to outsource it, and then pull this off, it's low-hanging fruit. And between 2020 and now, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there, just because things aren't behind corporate networks anymore.
Yeah.
God. I remember when it like we were part of that. I was working for my uncle at that time, and he was a very much, if you work for me, your butt's in the seat. There's no such thing as remote work. Like you work 8 to 5.
Right.
And all of a sudden it was, people aren't to come into the office. Like we're not an essential service, or we ended up like convincing ourselves that we were. And so we ended up getting back to the office pretty quick. or at least my uncle convinced us that we were essential service.
Yeah.
But that being said, it was very quickly we had we had our IT guy come in at that time and set up a cloud computing remote login system, all that kind of stuff. And it was like we had to adapt very quickly. And now it's kind of, I doubt that they even still have that or whatever, but it was a quick transition, and all of a sudden we're working from home, sitting at our house, drinking a Mountain Dew, hacking other people's computers, all that good stuff.
Right, naturally.
Tim, I'm curious to kind of go back to and make sure I get Integrity Technologies here in Fort Collins. Are you, and maybe you can't say, or maybe you can say, but like in terms of local businesses, how many local clients are you helping here in the town in Fort Collins or the surrounding areas?
Yeah, we serve about 80 clients. And
Cool.
so, we did have a little bit of pruning over the last couple of years where, we have our clientele that is a good fit for us and we can provide a whole lot of value to. And so it did come time to prune, and and we found great IT companies to fill, kind of like, move right into our role. And so,
Gotcha.
luckily for our existing clients, 'cause at one point we were up to about 200 and decided to prune down quite a bit over the last few years. And yeah, luckily we were able to, just say, okay, hey, this is how we serve the client right now. These are their needs. This is how you can just step right in and try to make that marriage, quick and easy and painless.
Yeah. And so if you're a Fort Collins business owner right now listening to this podcast, and are you like, if you're a restaurant owner, is this something that you need to look for? Or obviously something more in like, the mortgage industry, obviously it's definitely what is like kind of like, the window of types of businesses out there in Fort Collins that you guys care to, or at least you should definitely be like, hey, you should make sure you got your SHIT together before, you start this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the broad answer is everybody probably needs to step up their game when it comes to security.
Yeah.
As far as the types of businesses that we focus on businesses that have the most amount of risk. So because we can provide the most amount of value to them. So, while we do have a couple restaurants as clients, those are friendships first, and we also happen to take care of a few of their things as well. But realistically, we're working with a lot of CPAs, accounting firms.
Gotcha. Okay.
Legal firms. We're working with medical of all sorts. And so finally, this year, we don't work with any dealerships, but finally dealerships are actually held to the same regulations as an accounting firm, essentially, because they collect all the same data.
Yeah.
Zero regulations up until I believe it's June of this year.
Crazy.
They just weren't regulated. And yeah, I mean, if you bought a vehicle at a dealership, you're pretty much giving them like your firstborn.
Yeah.
Dude. Like,
Social,
they all have
birthday,
finance offices.
Address, name, middle.
That's crazy.
I mean, they have to check your credit, right?
Yeah. No, so pretty much what would you recommend it would be like, to your point, as far as liability? So maybe everyone should be considering it, but where would you say, like, hey, if you don't and get hacked, you're on the line because you're holding valuable information for people type deal? Is it someone like if they're taking an application, or if they're taking like at what point is the information too much to where they need to protect themselves?
Right. And it really depends on the type of data that you're taking in, whether, even if you're not storing that data, let's say that you're storing that data on a third party service of some sort, you may or may not be liable depending on whether you're deemed negligent. And so, let's say you have a donut shop, they're really not taking in any information. They might at most take in your birthday so they can give you a free donut. But that's probably about it.
That's worth the risk to me.
Yeah. Don't want to give away your free donut.
Is Lamar a client of yours, Tim? Be honest.
Man, tell you what, if they were, I would be in big trouble. Mars Donuts has the best donuts in the world.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Shout out Lamar.
And so their network at minimum needs to be at least secured. So, go back to the hacker, with the Mountain Dew sitting in the corner, he can't just scrape that data out. Or other people's data that's, on that network as well. And so, you should have a bare minimum amount of security, even if you're the donut shop even if you're Lamar's is taking people's birthdays. You should have at least a minimal. And for us, they're not a client that we're going to go after, because I don't feel like the amount that we can provide the correct amount of value to them. Also, I don't like running network cable and getting dirty and going underneath like gross kitchens and stuff like that, which is going to be a majority of what their issues are probably going to be. So that's also a hard pass for me.
So speaking of date of birth,
Mhm.
what does a hacker need? Do they need your date of birth, your address? Like what is the minimal they need to go in there and just mess with you?
Yeah, that's it's a good question. So
you can tell Patrick and I are very well versed in IT and cybersecurity. What does it take to screw us over? That's what we would have.
Right. So it's funny. Yeah. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for the podcast, but about 20 minutes before this thing started, I was like,
"You're doing great. Don't worry about it. You're doing fantastic."
I was like, I should mess with Patrick.
Oh,
So I dug up a little bit of information, and there's two ways. There's two ways that I would hack Patrick.
Let's hack Patrick. Let's do it.
Yeah. He was easy. So Patrick,
shit. It was easy.
So you can verify, you can vouch that like you and I are not Facebook friends, right?
No, but I am on Facebook and public to the world or whatever. Yes.
Oh, you absolutely are.
Boy, I'm going into my Facebook page right now and changing some stuff around. Keep going, Matt or Tim.
Yeah,
Tim,
right?
keep going, Tim.
So I did find out we have 4 mutual friends, which would be another way to just exploit you. But since you're public, you didn't have to. All right, so there's let me see how I want to do this. So I know your wife's name. I know your 3 kids' name. So I won't mention your kids out of respect, but I will mention your wife, Janae. I also saw you guys were married January 6th, 2017. Congratulations on that. It's what, 6 years, almost 7. And you have beautiful wife, beautiful family. So congrats there.
Thank you.
So if I were to do something, let's see. So this would be like the low-hanging fruit. Let's see. So I would probably go to a podcast of yours, take about 30-second sample of your voice, and I'd use AI to generate that and generate a phone call so I could talk as Patrick talks, because you have a ton of content on there. And
we're proud of that content. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Check it out. Check it out if you want to learn or if you want to hack Patrick. So I'd probably call and I would say July 24th. Okay, so you did your 3rd triathlon on July 24th. Congrats. Is Janae's first? I would probably call your assistant Kat and I would say, you know what, like, Janae killed it. She just did her, she just finished up her first triathlon. I'm super proud of her. I want to get her a gift. Like, I'm busy right now. Can you get her a gift card to Apple? If that's a brand that she likes, I'm sure I could do some more digging, find a brand that she likes, just be like, congratulations on, finishing your first triathlon. That was awesome. You're amazing. Yeah, just go ahead, buy that gift card. I'll pay you back. You know what? Janae's awesome. Like $1,000. Like, have her go buy herself something nice, right? So guess who's not getting paid back? Kat's not getting paid back. So I also, let's see, there's
so you're so really on all that, it's the AI generated voice, Tim, is kind of how you would, your first thought would be to do something like that.
Yeah. So AI, so that's low hanging fruit. That's easy. That's an easy way to verify. So not only are we verifying with Patrick's voice, we're verifying through some data, because Cat probably knows you at least a little bit to know that you're running a triathlon. My employees
Yeah.
know that I'm doing cool stuff. I'm not doing a triathlon. I'm not that cool. But if I were, my employees would know about it, and they'd probably be a little bit annoyed. They'd be like, yeah, dude, get over it. Like, yeah, that's cool. But
It's like being a vegan.
yeah. So like you guys also went on vacation on the 29th. You just got a white Honda van. There's a lot of data. There's, something else. You could also exploit. I'm looking at some of these houses that you listed. So it's just, hey, I just wanted to, say thank you, Kat, for that for killing it on that closed property, on the Berry Court property. Do you want to go ahead and get a gift card, send it over to me, and then I want to get you something nice, or whatever it is. So essentially you're using gift cards as a way of stealing money and then not having to repay. Another thing too, let's see. Yeah, we've already used her as an example.
I'm like, Tim, share your screen. No, just joking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So another thing too would be, if Kat doesn't have Janae's phone number, I could text her and be like, hey, congrats. I wanted to congratulate. I wanted to surprise Patrick on closing on that 3706 Bromley property. And he loves, I would look this up on Google to make sure I'm pronouncing it. I guess if it's a text, it doesn't matter, but I saw that you really like Chantilly cake.
Oh, I do.
Chantilly cake.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
And say, just be like, that's his favorite kind of cake. Can you make sure to pick him up a cake and deliver it? And this is coming from Janae, right? And then also, can you pick up, can you, get a gift card for X, Y, and Z, send it over to me so I can purchase this for him anonymously.
So Tim, so what would you suggest? I mean, like mortgage fraud, wire fraud. I always tell my clients, I'm like, it's, I go, if somebody's calling you and being, hey, I'm from Land Title, I just want to confirm your routing number and blah, 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 blah. I always tell my clients, I go, nobody should be reaching out to you. That's a red flag. Hang up the phone. What advice do you have for people out there that is just like, hey, if somebody does this, that is 100% a red flag? Or, I don't care what they say. Obviously, the gift card route is a way to go. But what are things that you could just tell everybody goes, no, that's one thing you got to watch out for. And I feel like a lot of this stuff is common sense a little bit, but,
common sense is not so common, though.
This is $1 billion industry out there. And people are getting hacked left and right. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could share my screen because I have a billion notes on like stuff I know from Patrick. And like, it's literally like, there we go, about like this long. Different ways I could exploit him to verify.
Hey, we're friends, right? So, we're friends, right?
Not Facebook friends.
Yeah. We're not even Facebook friends.
Damn.
And so, this stuff, like the social media, I mean, all this is social engineering. That's all that it is. It's like, hey, I know that you said that, that Chris said that, you shouldn't be expecting a phone call, but, the emails are broken, the server's down, and like our IT department's working on it. So we have to go through this route. We have an hour till closing. So we have to get this done right now. Insert something that would be unique. Insert an identifier that says, okay, you can trust me, you can verify, because I know what your children's name are. I know what your wife's name is. I know what your date of birth is. I know what these things are, or I know the last 4 of your social security number. I'm obviously not going to, give out the full 8-digit number for privacy, but I know the last 4, this, yes, I'm legitimate. Go ahead and send it through because our IT department's working on our email.
Yeah.
They're sophisticated, I'm sure. Like it's like they've got scripts that they they do every day, all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, verification is tough. It really is, especially with like, AI generated stuff, which isn't new. I mean, you see, back in, I think the first time I really experienced something very, very good was probably 2017, 2018, someone running AI with Obama's voice, having him saying things that like he would obviously never say. But it was spot on. I mean, to a T.
And that was back in 2017, 2018. That's crazy. Because
Yeah.
everybody, like the masses are like, oh, AI just started last November with ChatGPT.
Right.
And and obviously that's not the case.
It just became available to the masses. Yeah.
Tim, I got a couple just generic questions for you. So I in my previous life, I was a golf pro, and one of the members at the country club I had was the like cybersecurity. I mean, so like very smart. I mean, you and him would have a great conversations.
Yeah.
And I was on my phone one time, and I don't know, I was like, I had I bank at Chase. So I'm sure I'm gonna get hacked now. But anyways, I bank at Chase, and I had my app on my phone, and he looked at me and he's like, "What are you doing?" I go, I has an app, iPhone, Chase. I go and look at my balances. He looked like me. He's like, "Oh my God." He goes, "I would never put anything like that on my phone." Now, I'm sure there's millions and millions of people out there that have Chase apps on their phone and they use it every single day. Like, is that something that you would be worried about, or I would be worried about, or he was making it sound like, man, I wouldn't put anything on that phone that has banking information or anything. Like I use Dashlane for like passwords. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you think it's a little bit too like, is he crazy? I mean, he's crazy, but
I mean, I think you have to be to succeed in cybersecurity. So yeah, so you have like security over here, and then you have trying to get my hands right. And then you have convenience over here. And so, we always try to meet somewhere in the middle. Yeah, probably a little bit heavier on the cybersecurity side because you have to be, as far as, just like running your daily life. Because if you're too secure, you just can't get anything done. That said, an easy way for your Chase account to get hacked would be, if someone stole your phone. I mean, not only do they have the keys to your castle right there, but they also have MFA, multi-factor authentication, so they can unlock the account there. They can also forgot password, and you have your email right there. So yeah, I mean, really, like these things have to be secured and are a huge vulnerability.
So is there like an app that you can download that secures these, or what is there any tips you have for people that have iPhones that say, hey, make sure you have this setting set to prevent somebody from getting in?
Yeah, so I mean the Apple infrastructure is nice because you can lock down your phone, through your Apple account, because everything's like so cohesive, which is great. Whereas like the Android infrastructure is like scattered everywhere. So so for us, like as an IT firm, what do? With we have MDM, mobile device management, which allows us to secure phones. So we're saying, hey, you can't make 1 2 3 4 your password. Sorry. If your phone gets jacked and you communicate with us, or your higher ups communicate with us, and they say, hey, like so and so just lost his phone, can you lock it down? Then we can just lock it down. No one's getting into that thing. So that's kind of like how an IT provider would handle it. Yeah, I mean, the only reason I don't have my banking app on my phone is because it just doesn't work for whatever reason.
Okay.
And so, I'd be a hypocrite just being like, yeah, no, like that's totally vulnerable. But at the same time, like you also have to live too.
Right.
I love
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, exactly. That spectrum of like secure and like lifestyle. It's like, all right, you got to figure out somewhere, and convenience. It's like, where in the middle do you meet? And I think that's thanks for being like that, because it could, like you said, it could easily be like you need to be super secure while on the other side you're eating donuts at Lamar's giving your birth dates.
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, so for us, we have a small firm. We're 7 people. What would you say is like a budget roughly for like a small company to a big company? I mean, a big company, I'm sure, could be spending tens of thousands of dollars a year or more, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Whereas a small company, it's like, all right, I'm biting the bullet. I'm too big. I've got too much information. I need to do something. What's a good like rough budget to bring in an IT company to start taking over that kind of stuff?
As far as the percentage, maybe that's a number I should know, and I don't. So, the way that we figured that number out is, and I know this is kind of not answering your question, with an explanation, but we need to go into a company and figure out what the risk is, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's your risk. It's not my risk, Patrick. Like,
Right.
if your firm gets hacked, that's on you. Sorry, like, I'd love to help you, but like, that's on
Too
you.
late. Yeah.
And yeah, we didn't even get into the deep weeds as far as like how I'd wreck your life versus just like trying to steal like $500 of gift cards.
Ah,
But we need to figure out like what your risk is, and that risk is quite a few different factors. I mean, it's industry, it's how you communicate your data, what kind of data you store, what kind of data you have existing on all of your systems, that contains PII, personally identifiable information, what vulnerabilities you have, and then basically what's going to be our cost, integrity's cost, to manage your risk. That's really what it comes down to. And there's a lot of tools that we use that help us manage your risk, such as there's one tool that's really cool where it kind of like it latches onto your infrastructure, like all of your cloud-based stuff. So like your email, I already did a little bit of research. You guys use Google Workspace. So you're a Google company. So, it would latch on to all of your Google stuff, your Google Drive, and protect that. And so if someone's able to, one, get your password from the dark web, which also I checked your dark web and you're clean. So you don't have any information on the dark web. So
I do have LifeLock.
Tim, can you do that for me as well? Make sure I'm not on the dark web. I don't want to be on the dark web.
So whether it's something like Dropbox, they had that major hack where it's like if you were on Dropbox, your password got thrown out there, thrown on the dark web. If you're on LinkedIn, that password got thrown on the dark web, same sort of thing. So whether it's your fault through a phishing campaign or through dark web, they get that password, right? Okay, great. Now they need to get through multi-factor authentication, which we enforce on our level going down. So you have to have multi-factor authentication enabled on all accounts. Let's say they get past that through social engineering or weaknesses that have been shown in SMS. Let's say they get past that. The services that we latch on to your cloud accounts say, okay, they passed stage 1, they passed stage 2. Okay, but they're logging in with an IP address that's over in Bermuda. That's not right. What rules has integrity written to handle, like to happen if that happens? Is it just notify your team, be like, hey, is this you? But we're gonna let them in, or is it gonna be like, yeah, no, lock that down. And maybe you're in Bermuda, which I probably would have already found out because I would have checked your Facebook. But if you don't have your access to your cloud accounts for 8 hours, and it happens to be that you're welcome. Janae's also gonna be thanking me. Hey, look, he doesn't have to work now. And your account's locked down, that's gonna suck, but that's gonna be just 1/1,000,000th of the pain that you're going to suffer if someone were to successfully breach your account. So to answer your question, it depends. We're really looking at not like, hey, you're a $10 million company, you should be spending $100,000 annually or $500,000 annually on your IT. We're saying it depends. And so what's going to be our cost to adequately protect and manage your risk? And then we co-manage your risk because it's partially yours, partially ours now.
Yeah, I would say like, Tim, we just are our own mortgage broker business. And now there's 3 of us. So obviously not very big, but the information we have is basically everything any hacker would need, from social security numbers, the addresses, the date of birth, the jobs, the bank account information. I mean, you name it, we got it. And so like the cost for us to bring you guys on might be more or just a lot different than if it was a company of 20 people that was selling donuts.
Right.
So yeah, so it's not the size of the company, it's just the intricacies of the information that we're holding.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And I'm trying to find an article that since you mentioned that I don't have it.
Are you checking my dark web status right now?
Yeah. No, that'll be later. That'll
right,
be
good.
when I go to mom's basement, put my hood up.
right.
No, there's a large mortgage lender that just got hacked recently.
It was Mr. Cooper, I think. Mr. Cooper is a big servicer, one of the biggest servicers in the country. I think I read something that they got hacked.
Yeah,
And then the
last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was Mr. Cooper, and then obviously the Equifax stuff. So, as we kind of wrap this up, Tim. I mean, Patrick and I could go down wormholes for hours on this stuff. I mean, I kind of find it interesting. So, just kind of simple like maintenance stuff that anybody can do out there. Do you recommend going and locking your credit scores with the bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian? Does that do anything to lock that stuff out? What are some things that we can do? Because like one thing we tell all of our clients to do is, and we do it for them, is there's an opt out where you basically, I mean, we've had people who we pull their credit and they'll get 50 or 60 phone calls in one day because the bureaus sell that information. And so now part of our process is we go, before we even pull your credit, and we can do soft pulls, but we say, before we do that, we're going to put you into, we're going to go to the opt out. I don't have the website in front of me, but it's a website we go to, we put it in there and it removes them from all these call lists and they don't get bombarded.
Right.
That's just an example of something that we do. But what are some simple examples to tell people like, hey, go do this, go do that? I think Patrick said he has LifeLock or something like that. Or was that, I don't know.
Yeah. And so that's going to be, to be honest, that's going to be a little bit out of my realm, because that's more the personal side.
Okay.
Whereas like we focus, a little bit more on the business side.
Okay.
Some big things that you should be doing as a business would be, I mean, really lock down your Facebook account. Patrick, please lock it down.
Make it private.
Yeah, make it private.
Make it private. I'm in my thing right now, actually. Private checkup. Okay.
And so, and the reason I say that is that's just from a social engineering standpoint. Another place where you can get in trouble is, all these people, all these gorgeous women from all over the world are always wanting to be your friends, right? Guess what? It's probably not the person that you think it is on the other side of the keyboard. Surprise. What? And so when these people are like, hey, let's be friends, they're
so nice, Tim.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're so handsome, Chris.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, be careful with who you accept as well, because, you're a really cool guy, Chris. I just met you. You're a really cool guy. I can tell already, but like,
I'm locking my shit down right now.
Not everybody thinks that you're that cool. And, they probably have ill intentions, as far as, and that's like one like minimal piece that we just talked about, which is the social engineering side. So that's a thing to watch out for. Don't accept random requests. They're fishing for data, or they're going to exploit you in one way or another. A big thing that we recommend for businesses, I mean, this is like something that you can do immediately, is lock down your DNS records, your registrar. So this is something that I was hoping to dive into, but I don't think that we have time to do that. How I would exploit Patrick's company. And that would be, first, I already checked, okay, his registrar is through GoDaddy. Check that out. And so, the way that I would be exploiting that would be if I can hijack his DNS records. So, his domain name, if I can successfully log into that, I essentially have the keys to the castle to move from top all the way down to bottom and just wreck his life. Well,
how do you lock those? Because our website's being built right now, and you're talking about DNS records, and I'm like, I just had to look up our DNS record yesterday. Like, how do you lock that down?
Yeah, I mean, at minimum, make sure that you have multi-factor authentication enabled.
Is
So
that through GoDaddy? You go through
yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay.
If you bought your domain name through GoDaddy, like, GoDaddy's a big one, domains.com is a big one.
Okay.
Yeah, Squarespace, I think they just purchased Google's registrar services. Yeah, lock that down.
Okay.
Put
Okay.
multi-factor authentication on there. Put a secure password on there. Because, like, as if I were looking to wreck a company, that's where I'd start first, would be at the domain level, and then I'd just start changing
Hmm.
where the redirect email to a different server. And so then I could start intercepting stuff until I learned, hey, this is how they conduct business, and this is how I'm going to exploit them.
Okay.
Wait, because I did have a question. So I thought earlier you were talking about how you were going to hack me. So is this kind of what you wanted to tell me? Is like, how is this how you would hack me? Because I want to know. I need to know. I need to know how
Yeah.
my life's going to be wrecked.
Right. Yeah. So I started with low hanging fruit, right? With with just like going through, stuff that I could scavenge on the internet in 20 minutes and just say like, hey, here's how I could like pull like 500. And actually this just happened about a week ago. Someone bought $4,000 in gift cards. So like, it's starting to get up there, decent
Chunk.
amount. But it's not gonna wreck you. So, if I were to attempt to wreck you, that's what I would do. I'd look at public records that say, okay, yep, this is who he owns his DNS to. It's through GoDaddy. And I would try to get into that account. And so there's multiple ways to get into that account, which would be, is it just a password? Is it going to be a password and multi-factor? And then let's say that it is password protected and multi-factor authentication. Can I get on to chat with GoDaddy and just be like, dude, I lost my phone. I don't have access to that anymore. Shoot. What can you do to unlock this? Okay, you need some verification data. Let me see what I can find to verify my identity. And and then, pretty much just start at the highest level of your business and then just work my way down. Okay, now I own your email. What can I do with that? Okay, looks like you're, a Google user. What can I do with that? Oh, access stuff on Google Drive. Can I, take everything in Google Drive and hold it ransom? Is there data that in there that's sensitive that I can, extort you for? Can I send emails to your clients and extort them through like what they call a business email compromise? I mean, we've had those come across before where, multiple clients are all sending each other emails and none of them are legitimate
Oh my
because there's
gosh.
one company that got exposed. And so everything's getting forwarded to us and they're like, hey, what is this? Is this legit? Is it not legit? What do things look like? Like our spam filter says to watch out for it, but what do we need to do?
Jeez.
I,
Have you had to go down that route of a company that's been compromised and held for ransomware and or been
what's
bitten
the
by that
craziest
bug?
story you got?
Craziest story. So we had a client that only utilized our cloud services and nothing else, and they had time and time again refused to pretty much let us in and manage their IT. It's kind of like we use your infrastructure and your data center to do our daily business, but we've got a guy in house that can manage our IT and security, whatever that means. Which, we've got a guy in the house usually means the youngest person that works there that understands computers the most. And
Yep.
so
Yes.
so what happened was the CFO of the company, and this is a manufacturing essentially is the closest fit to what they do. And so they're used to sending, large ACH transactions.
Shit,
And
yeah.
so the CFO had been not receiving emails. Well, I'll take a step back. So the CFO essentially wired $198,000 out to the wrong account. So, I mean, probably very similar to like what a title company sees, when
Yeah.
that transaction's happening. And so I got a call from the owner. He goes, "Hey, what's going on? So and so just wired out $198,000 to the wrong person." And I was like, "I'll tell you this right now. It's not our responsibility to be upfront. You have declined the service, and this is not on me or my company. Now, let's figure out what happened. Let's see what we can do to help." And so, what we found out by doing some forensics was that the CFO's account had been compromised for 6 months.
Oh my God.
And
How
basically,
creepy is that? They're just watching their email for 6 months.
all they're
Oh.
doing, they're just learning the company. They're just saying, how do they conduct business? How do they send payments? How do they receive payments? Who do they work with? What kind of verbiage do they use? What kind of terms do they use? They're just learning the company. And ultimately, they started writing, they just implemented some rules. So any email that comes from this person, throw it into a box down here, so they're never receiving these emails, and then we can respond to them however we want. We can change details in the signature, change the phone number. So if they call and they say, yeah, go ahead and we just updated our bank account, go ahead and call us if you have any questions. And you'll see the last 20 emails have the same signature, where the phone number has been forged. It's just been changed. So when they call that number, they're like, "Hey, yeah, you said if they're practicing due diligence, like, hey, I saw that your ACH number changed. You got a new bank. Oh yeah, no, we did." And that's the bad actor on the other side of the phone that's saying, "Yeah, nope, we did. Yeah, we got a new bank. FDIC or something. And yeah, nope, that's fine. Wire it."
Mm.
So, we do manage their IT now.
Yeah. Well, what was
We do.
the cost was, hey, we'll do it for you for 20 grand a year, and instead it's going to cost you 7 years worth of paying us 20 grand one
Mhm.
time.
Yep.
Oh God.
Patrick, I just went into my Facebook account and changed my who can see your posts, and it had everyone, and now it just says friends. So I'm taking a little step into securing my profile.
Awesome. Love it.
Real quick question before our last question.
Yeah.
How often should somebody change their password, or does it even matter?
I mean, yes, it does matter. The way you're getting on like the personal and the business side. And
For me, for my company, like when I log into like my computer at the office, I've same password since for a long time.
neat. We'll just pretend a long time is more than 90 days.
Okay, definitely more than 90 days.
91 days. Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. It's like the security versus the ease. We always say you shouldn't know, you should never know your password. We provide our clients a password manager that is actually secure with zero knowledge, unlike LastPass, who has been compromised twice in the last 300. Oh no. Damn it, Patrick.
Yeah.
So switch. Yeah, LastPass has been compromised twice in the last 365.
What about Dashlane?
I don't know about Dashlane to say one way or another.
That was my brother-in-law works for NVIDIA. He's a big tech guy, and we have like our Dashlane is our like secure where we keep our passwords.
Okay.
And
Is there MFA around it?
multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm sure we could set something up, but when I go to log in, I can log in.
Yeah, so you should set it up. So, yeah, at minimum. So, as our responsibility as an IT provider, we enforce multi-factor on top of Keeper. And if Keeper were to be compromised in the same way that LastPass was, where someone basically has access to all the data and now they just need to decrypt it, they're not going to be able to decrypt an entire bank at a time. They're going to be able to decrypt a record at a time, is like kind of like worst case scenario. And so So, I mean, having an IT provider that actually like manages that and make sure like your employees aren't just like, dude, MFA is so annoying, I'm going to turn it off. Your IT department's kind of like, yeah, sorry, you can't, we're enforcing it. So going back to your original question of, how often should you change your password? One, it should be really long and you should never know what it is. It should be stored in Keeper, or your password manager that's actually secure, which you can access on your phone. You can access through your, through your desktop app. You can access it on the web.
It's called Keeper, you said, Tim?
Uh-huh.
Keeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so while your password might be long, it could still be exposed. So that's where that, even if it's, 32 characters and they're all random and it's super secure, it could still be exposed on, on the dark web. So yes, it should be cycled. If it's cloud information, so something that's like public facing where 8 billion people in the world have access to it essentially, then, probably every 90 days is, what we would recommend. And your IT department should set up a cycle for that as well. So it's not optional and you can't forget and you can't just be like, later, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. If it's something that's local, like on a PC where someone would have to physically steal it, as long as it's not, as long as it's not like publicly on the internet and it's a secure password, just change it every year.
So password 123 ain't it?
No,
it is not.
It is not.
Well, Tim, I know we're kind of running over, which is actually awesome because this is some really good information.
Super helpful.
Makes me not want to sleep at night and lose more hair than I already lost. But we do finish all of our podcasts with the same question. This is Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, the Fort Collins of beer. I'm not going to say the Napa Valley of beer anymore because we're just the Fort Collins now, right? We're the leader. Yeah. On a Friday afternoon during this amazing fall that we are having and have had, where do you find yourself enjoying a cold beverage after saving $193,000 for people?
Right. So I was thinking about that question. And I do love beer. I drink beer occasionally. If I have a beer, it kind of wrecks the rest of my day and I'm just not productive. So on a Friday afternoon, I'm probably working late that night anyway, saving the world, doing data center maintenance, doing these projects, upgrading people's security. So you're not going to find me drinking a beer on a Friday afternoon.
It'll be a Mountain Dew in your mom's basement with a hoodie on. That's where it is.
Where do you want your favorite Mountain Dew? What's your location for your favorite Mountain Dew?
Yeah. I would say I'd be more of a coffee person, to be honest. Ooh. And so there's this place called Starry Night down in Old Town.
Oh yeah.
And it's awesome. Like every single time I've been there, the servers or baristas or baristos, have always been excellent. So, I have no idea who the ownership is there, but they pick wonderful people.
That's good.
That is the first time we've had somebody recommend a coffee shop when we ask them about their favorite beer location.
Which I'm actually all about because I am similar. I'll drink some beers here and there, but I'm much more of a coffee person myself. So I appreciate the old curveball, the flip the script on us. Yeah. Well, Tim, I appreciate you joining us today. I will get off LastPass. I will make Facebook private.
I just did that.
And I'm gonna have a code word for my family. So when they hear me talking about sending them gift cards, they're gonna say code word. And they're going to say
long jump.
But I appreciate you jumping on here. And honestly, if you guys are in and around Fort Collins, especially if you guys are in a small business, big business, medium business that's taking any type of information as little as a birthday at a donut shop, explore it and see where that kind of spectrum you feel like you're landing. And if you're a little bit too luxury or, lifestyle, not enough cybersecurity, maybe give Tim a call.
Integrity Technologies.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tim.